Thank you, Addie, for joining us today and telling us a little bit about your story. Our question of the day is, where were you in 1972? And it's because 50 years ago is when the Clark County Genealogy was founded.
Oh.
And we're, trying to share what were we all doing. So tell us, what were you doing in 1972 and where were you?
I was in Hager's Bend, Illinois, which was between Fox River Grove and Algonquin, Illinois, on the Fox River.
What part of Illinois is that?
It's kind of very north.
North and west?
West, yeah.
My great aunt lived in Grant Park. Does that ring a bell?
Yeah.
I know where that is. Okay.
Yeah. And 1972 was a very difficult year for me, 72 and 73. I underwent a hysterectomy for cancer. I was 40 years old, and I had the surgery. And when I was recovering from surgery, my husband was in a bad accident with our tow truck, and his neck was broken. And but that did save my son from being drafted. My son was drafted, but he didn't have to go because of my husband's accident.
So your son stayed and helped you?
Yes. And then what happened was, while I was trying to get on my feet again, I got a call to come out here because my father was undergoing heart surgery and he wanted me here. So I came. And I no sooner got here when I get a call from the police at home. And they said, you need to get home as soon as possible because your husband beat up one of your sons really bad and we're concerned about them. So we've had to put him in jail to protect them till you get back. So when I got back, the police and I took him to the Elgin State Hospital, and then I filed for divorce. And things just went on.
Things got better, didn't they?
Not for a while. I got the divorce, and I found a job. I guess that was the good thing. But I remember when the man interviewed me for the job, he told me later that one reason he hired me was because he said I looked like I had been beat up, and he thought maybe I was an abused wife, and so he hired me. And then he finds out later that what happened.
Oh my, Addie. It made you into a resilient person, didn't it?
Oh yeah, it helped me find out, I was kind of a very reserved person, but I found out when I went to work that I was not the stupid woman that I thought I was. They put me in the plastics branch of the Bell factory for Rockwell International. And then they were trying to find someone to work in the tool and die room with the tool and die makers. And they decided to try me. So I guess I worked out really good there because they says, well, you're doing really good at that. We couldn't find anybody else that would do that good because what it was, I was sharpening tools for the tool and die makers.
Wow.
So that lasted till 1988 when my job went overseas.
I think you're not the only one. So you're born in the Midwest.
I was born in Round, Montana.
In Montana?
Yes.
But then your marriage took you to Illinois.
Yes.
And then your father brought you west for a little while. And then you went back home to Illinois.
When my parents were divorced when I was a teenager, my father and my sister came out here, and my mother and I went east to Wisconsin.
Okay.
Then when I graduated from high school, I came out here.
Okay. So finally you're in the West Coast in Washington.
Right.
Okay. So, but where's your family from? Where was your dad's people born?
In Holstein, Sirota, Russia.
So they immigrated. Your dad immigrated, and he was born in Russia.
Yes.
And then so you have a long line of Russian ancestors.
Yes.
And your mother's people were from?
My mother's mother was from Germany, but she came to this country as a small child.
Your mother?
My mother's mother.
So
my
your grandmother was born in Germany, and they came as a family?
Yeah. Well, no, her father died.
Okay.
And so the mother brought her to this country and remarried.
Was she the only daughter?
Yeah.
The only child at the time?
At the time, yes.
Okay. So that would be like the early 1900s, maybe? Or late 1800s?
That would be the late 1800s, yeah. And my maternal grandfather was born in this country near Joliet, Illinois.
Oh, wow. Yes.
And he was Canadian, French, and Irish.
I have a whole bunch of Joliet people on my mother's side, yes.
Well, that's what he was. He was kind of a difficult man, but very intelligent.
We can't do anything about that now.
No, we sure can't.
But it's interesting that you have knowledge of the temperament of some of your grandparents.
Yeah.
Because we don't always get to meet all of them.
Yeah. I was very close to my dad's family because it wasn't just my dad and his family, but it was my dad's uncle and his family. They all came to, first they went to Saskatchewan, Canada, and then down into Montana.
Yeah. That happens, doesn't it?
Yeah. They came because my grandfather had been in the service of the Tsar.
So your grandfather was born in Russia?
Yes. And he was in the Tsar's army or whatever you call it. And then it was, the bad time of the Bolshevik Revolution. And he and his brothers got word that the Tsar was going to be assassinated. And so they said, well, if he gets assassinated, we'll be next. And so they gathered up their family and got out of there.
That's so amazing. Yes. That's so amazing. A lot of people didn't get the word.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah. Yeah, and I used to wonder why there were some Japanese pictures around my grandparents' house. And then I found out years later it was because my grandfather had been in the Russian-Japanese war with Korea. And he was stationed at Vladivostok for a while. Do you know where Vladivostok is?
Yeah.
Yeah. So he was there for a while. So
Vladivostok is how I
well, I don't know. I just...
Okay, that's the same one.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow.
So...
Lots of story.
Yeah.
And did they bring anything, artifacts back from Russia with the family?
There were a lot of things they brought back, but I don't know all of them. I know they brought back a coffee pot and a water pitcher. It looked copper, but I don't know if it was, but it's in the museum in Butte, Montana now. And I think my grandfather's portrait is in the museum in Roundup, Montana.
So you have family history in Montana that's been preserved. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Oh.
So how much more of their stuff is in the museums, I don't know, but I know of those two things. Always fascinated with them, that they managed to bring from Russia with them.
Amazing. Just simply amazing.
Yeah.
Yes, what you know kind of goes back to what the history coming out of Russia of that era
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
So yeah, and when a friend of mine did a little research, they found my great grandfather's name was Adam Hilderman, and Adam was my grandfather, Jacob's father. So I knew that much anyway.
Well, it's amazing that you have the family story, because nowadays, anybody connected to the Tsar, it's hard to get records.
Yeah,
Just about impossible.
yeah.
Wow. So when your people arrived, did they speak English, or did they have a spattering of it, or
I don't know.
you don't know
But I remember my dad's English was always a little bit off, you might say, the way he said some words. Because when I was a child, he always would ruffle my hair and say "Genealogical," and I never did find out what that meant.
Yeah, I had words that's like, why do you, I never questioned what
Yeah.
it was. Now I go, oh, I remember that, but I don't know why.
Yeah. Well, one thing I remember I grew up by my dad's family. I was away from my mother's family, but I came home from school one day, and for some reason I was at my grandparents' house, and we were having lunch, and then they were talking to me about what I was learning in school, and it happened to be, I can't remember now whether it was socialism or communism, and my grandfather fisted up and slammed the table because they were teaching about socialism and communism in school, because he was against communism.
Well, and he thought we shouldn't even know how bad it was.
Evidently. Well, I think it was because I said, well, gee, that sounds so good to me. As a child, socialism sounded like that would be a good thing for people, because that would be people sharing, and we wouldn't have all these rich and all these poor. So that was the way I looked at it. But when I started to tell him about it, that wasn't the way he looked at it.
Well, but the ideology may have turned out a lot different than how they experienced it.
That's it.
That's it. And as kids growing up learning, we didn't get that part.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, wow. Wow, you have a fascinating family story. It's wonderful that you can share it with us today.
Well, I appreciate anybody caring enough to want to know about it.
Oh, yes, we do. Amazing. Oh, thank you so much, Addie. That's really great. And your story is part of Clark County's story of all the people that have come together now.
Yeah, because my dad came out here, went to work for the railroad, and he was one of the 5 men that started the Clark County Credit Union.
Oh, amazing. Yeah, American history is made up of all of our people.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
And I thank you for caring.
Wonderful.